Right now at 5, a Quapaw, Oklahoma man is dead after a crash near Baxter Springs.
And we've got a fairly decent start to our Monday morning out there. A little bit of fog, and we've got increasing rain chances. We're going to look at your forecast and get you out the door coming up.
Plus, the United Auto Workers Union went on strike after failing to agree on a new contract. We see how the Missouri workers are getting involved.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning, 4 states, and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. The time now is 5 a.m. I'm Caitlin O'Shaughnessy.
I'm Chris Warner. So it's a bit on the chilly side out there this morning, but not too bad. Again, it's supposed to be a bit on the chilly side. We're going to warm up again today, though. And then we've got increasing storm chances. I was trying to combine rain and storms, and that didn't work. Take a look, though. Quick look at the fog tracker. As you can see, we do have some reduced visibilities, especially in the northeast Oklahoma and parts of southeast Kansas, and then stretching into the northern fringes of southwest Missouri. No dense fog advisories or anything like that yet, but do watch out for some patchy fog across the area, and that'll be continuing as kids get on the bus. Looking at 53, southeast breeze at 5 to 10. We're looking at mostly clear skies later today, 84 by 3, and that breeze switches out of the southwest as we get our morning started. Again, we've got that fog initially. That'll burn off pretty quickly. We're nice and cool through the morning, low 70s by late morning, but we will really start to warm up later this afternoon. As we go in through today, we're looking at mostly clear skies for most of the day, and then we'll start to see increasing clouds later this evening and overnight ahead of shower and thunderstorm chances as we head toward the morning hours on our Tuesday. These will be scattered throughout the day. Not everybody will see rain all at once, but we'll continue to see scattered storms as we go through our Tuesday, and these will continue again overnight into Wednesday. We'll have more scattered storms Wednesday into Thursday. Now, as such, for today, we could see a stray thunderstorm or two. This is mainly the overnight portion as those storms develop late tonight. However, we do have a low, maybe even elevated risk for some strong, maybe low-grade severe storms tomorrow, and then we have a larger area of a low-end risk for some strong, possibly low-grade severe storms as we head into our Wednesday. So nothing significant severe weather-wise, but a couple of strong storms possible out there. We'll have another full look at your forecast and how the rest of this week is shaping up here in just a few more minutes. Caitlin?
Thanks, Chris. A Quapaw, Oklahoma man is dead after a crash near Baxter Springs, Kansas, between a semi and a pickup. It happened around 6 p.m. Friday on Highway 166 west of Baxter Springs. Authorities say both vehicles were traveling east with the pickup in front. They then say that the pickup slowed down to turn left when the semi went into the left lane and hit the pickup. The driver of the pickup was taken to the hospital with serious injuries. The passenger in the pickup, 58-year-old Jeffrey Sappington, was killed. The driver of the semi was not hurt. The United Auto Workers Union went on strike after failing to agree to a new contract over the weekend. Auto workers in Wentzville, Missouri are racing to apply for strike pay, as Diamond Palmer reports.
United Auto Workers are continuing the fight for better pay, benefits, and working conditions one day at a time.
And we want to be able to afford to buy the cars that we build.
For 20 years, Pamela Mason has done back-breaking work at the GM plant in Wentzville. She serves on UAW's Local 2250 board as their financial secretary. Today, her duties look a little different. She's at the local hall registering people for their strike duties.
Today was a day that was set aside for us to have help to come in to mass register our membership.
Mason says the task of registering nearly 4,000 employees from the plant isn't easy. Strikers I talked to off camera said this morning lines were long, but buses kept rolling in this evening. If strikers don't register today, they risk delaying strike pay by 1 week.
Picking Wentzville turns the heat up tremendously.
Vandaris Simpson, former UAW Local 2250 president, has 40 years at the GM plant. He says the strike is strategic. Other locations include the Ford plant in Wayne, Michigan, and the Stellantis plant in Toledo, Ohio.
We don't hope that other plants strike. We hope that they'll come back to the bargaining table and this thing is as quickly as possible. No one wins when we go on strike.
When they give me back my my pensions and in the tiers and give back my equitable fair share, then I'll retire. But for right now, I still have to fight for the rest of the people that can't fight for themselves.
Do you think it could take 40-something days again?
I sure hope not. I sure hope that they can sit down and come to some type of mutual agreement on what's fair and what's equitable for us. But I hope not. I don't want to see another 41-day strike.
New York State officials conducted a surprise investigation of a daycare on September 9th and found no violations. Medical examiners are still trying to determine the exact cause of the death of a 1-year-old boy.
The parents of 1-year-old Nicolas Dominici say they can't imagine life without their son, who died at a licensed home-based daycare just a week after they enrolled him. First responders found Nicolas and 2 other children unconscious at the Divino Niño daycare Friday. Police say Narcan was used to revive them in an apparent fentanyl exposure. A 4th child, picked up earlier, was rushed to the hospital by his mother after looking lethargic.
The NYPD executed a search warrant at this daycare center where we discovered a kilo press. This is an item that is commonly used by drug dealers when packaging large quantities of drugs.
Daycare owner Gray Mendez and building tenant Carlisto Brito each face nearly a dozen charges, including murder, assault, and child endangerment. They are expected to be arraigned in a Bronx criminal court late Sunday night. New York City's mayor visited the children and spoke on the nation's opioid crisis.
It is a real wake-up call for individuals who have opioids or fentanyl in their homes.
3 children remain hospitalized, 1 in critical condition. Astrid Martinez, CBS News, Bronx, New York.
That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News. The Kansas City Chiefs are back after suffering a Week 1 loss, but this time Kansas City looks to bounce back facing the Jacksonville Jaguars. Plus, why the American Red Cross is asking Americans to roll up their sleeves. And rain chances return this week. We'll have what to expect from today with Chris in the Skywatch Weather Center. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back.
Well, the Missouri Southern Lions and the Pittsburgh State Gorillas each picked up a win on the road on Saturday, and after 3 weeks of games, both of those teams are finding themselves at the top of the MIAA football standings. Let's take a look at the conference standings in the MIAA. At the very top is the Pittsburgh State Gorillas. Pitt State stays undefeated after their 1-point win over Central Missouri on Saturday. In second place is the only other undefeated MIAA school, the Emporia State Hornets, who are also 3-0. Then we have 4 teams in a 3-way tie for second place. Central Missouri, Fort Hays State, the Missouri Southern Lions, and Missouri Western all in third. And then the remainder of the standings go to Central Oklahoma, Nebraska Kearney, and one of the biggest surprises here is Northwest Missouri State, who is 1-2 on the season. Well, Kansas City Chiefs are back after suffering a Week 1 loss to the Lions. This time, Kansas City looking to bounce back in the Sunshine State, facing the Jacksonville Jaguars. Chiefs at the Jags. Travis Kelce is active and ready to play. So we go to the second quarter, no score. The Jaguars are punting. But Richie James can't hang on to it, and Jacksonville recovers it. Big miscue there. This ball is going to bounce off the helmet of James. So, Chiefs defense has to go back on the field. Luckily, the Chiefs hold them to a field goal. We'll go late second quarter. 3-0 Jacksonville. Mahomes finds Sky Moore for the touchdown. 7-3 Chiefs lead. Kansas City goes into halftime with a 7-6 lead. So, third quarter now. Mahomes is going to run around until he finds Travis Kelce for the touchdown. Chiefs hang on to win an ugly game, but they get the job done, beating the Jags 17-9.
Really sucked it up, for lack of terms. It was hot and humid out there. I'm an offensive guy, but that was a beautiful thing defensively. And offensively, we got to take care of the penalties and the turnovers. But the battle through it shows me a little something. And so we'll get the other stuff fixed.
I mean, there was no doubt in my mind. It wasn't. It is what it is, man. I was out there flying around. Wish I could have helped my team out a little bit more than I did, but like I said, man, we came out of Jacksonville with a win, man.
Elsewhere in the NFL, Washington at Denver in the fourth quarter. Commanders lead 28-24. Brian Robinson is going to take this to the house. We get a touchdown, Washington. Commanders lead 35-24. No shot at a comeback for Denver, right? Well, 3 seconds left in the game. Denver trails 35-27 on the 50-yard line. Russell Wilson with the desperation heave down the field. It's deflected twice and caught. It's a Hail Mary. Brandon Johnson has the football in the end zone. Touchdown, Denver. We're going to take a look at that replay. It is unbelievable. Could this be a mile-high miracle? Well, we're not done yet. Denver has to go for two since they trail 35-33. So on the conversion, Wilson fires this ball to Cortland Sutton, and it's incomplete. No flags on the field, and Washington survives despite giving up the Hail Mary. Commanders hang on to win this one 35-33. Same with the AFC West. The LA Chargers are on the road against the Tennessee Titans, and the Chargers lose yet another close game. They lose to the Titans 27-24 in overtime. Also another surprising score during the Chiefs game. The Baltimore Ravens go on the road to beat the Cincinnati Bengals in their home opener, 27-24. Cincinnati is now 0-2 to begin the season. Well, usually the St. Louis Cardinals are looking to become postseason bound at this time of the year, but this year that's not the case. However, the Cardinals are still evaluating the young talent on the team. Cardinals versus Phillies at Busch Stadium. It's a tied game in the bottom of the fifth inning, 3-3 score. Paul Goldschmidt, the deep fly ball, and he gets just enough of it. Comes a solo homer. Cards lead 4-3. Now we go to the top of the eighth. 5-3 St. Louis. Alec Boehm takes a trip to Big Mac land. Hooper Tank, solo bomb. Phillies are within one run as they trail 5-4. We're tied entering the bottom of the eighth inning. So now we're up 5-5. Jordan Walker, take a good look. You won't see it for long. Solo home run. That was the difference in the game. Cardinals beat the Phillies 6-5. Kansas City is home looking for the sweep against the Houston Astros. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen as the Royals lose to Houston 7-1. Well, still to come, we're going to take a look at some other world news across the world, across the nation. Anything you need to know, we're going to tell you all about it. Plus, we have ourselves another check of that forecast, including our increasing rain chances when the KOAM Morning News returns. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News, 5:18 on this Monday morning, taking a live look at the MoDOT camera, 20th and Range Line, looking back to the north this time. And we got a little bit of fog out there, same from the MoDOT camera, US 60, Missouri 59 in Neosho. Just a little bit of patchy fog, and you guessed it, if you look close enough in the lights, you can see some patchy fog from the KDOT camera 69 and East 520th Avenue just south of Pittsburgh. And here's why. Nothing super dense. You get into Miami, though, just below 4 miles of visibility and just over 4 in Nevada and Stockton. So right along the I-49 and Highway 69 corridors is where we've got some thicker fog out there. So if you are commuting this morning, do watch out for that because that won't start to burn off until about 8, 9 o'clock this morning. In Joplin right now, otherwise mostly clear skies. 54 with an east-southeast breeze at 5, so a bit of a cool start. These light blues are telling us where that coolness is. 48 in Fort Scott, once again deciding to be the cool spot out there. 52 Chanute, Neodesha, 50 in Pittsburgh, 51 in Miami, and 54 in Neosho and Anderson. As we get our morning started, again, holding on to some patchy fog through about 8, 9 o'clock. Then we'll go mostly clear, low 70s by late morning, so a pretty decent start out there, but with plentiful sunshine and only a few clouds, we're going to warm up quickly right around the mid-80s. Under mostly clear skies across the area. As we head into the evening, though, clouds will begin to increase, start to go partly cloudy, then mostly cloudy as we go overnight, ahead of increasing shower and thunderstorm chances as we head into our Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday even. So some good news there because we absolutely need the rain. The only bad news to the other side of this coin is there is the chance, at least Wednesday and Thursday right now, of the potential for some strong, potentially low-grade severe thunderstorms. Now, that overall risk is low, but that risk is there. Again, primarily right now heading into Wednesday and Thursday, so it's something we'll keep an eye on for you. We're otherwise, again, looking at scattered thunderstorm chances, maybe isolated storm chances. As you see, the chances aren't terrific, but at least they're out there, and they'll be with us through Saturday. And the other thing they'll do is, we got another warm one for us Tuesday, but as we get more widespread rain and cloud cover through the week, temperatures fall back pretty nicely through the 70s, low 80s. Look at that, upper 70s by Saturday, keeping our overnight lows in check as well into the low to mid 60s. Then our overnight lows fall back into the 50s, and check out this fall-like weather as we head into next week. Temperatures back into the mid to upper 70s, and maybe another stray shower or two as we head into Monday evening next week. So some much needed rain chances, reasonable temperatures, not a bad week whatsoever. We'll be back with Health Watch right after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning, an incredible comeback for a Minnesota high school football player who has been battling cancer. His community, including a local ice cream shop, has been rallying around the young man who is now back on the field. David Schumann reports.
It's a blessing that number 33 is even on the field.
I'm a lucky guy that I get to coach him.
Wayzata senior captain Jack Simon started Thursday night in their game against Shakopee. He's out there while his stage 2 Hodgkin's lymphoma is in remission.
And it's awesome just being out there every day, being with the guys, not having to worry about my health. It's a lot less anxiety than last year.
Overcoming his cancer wasn't the end of Jack's story. Here you are. In a Plymouth ice cream shop, Captain Jack Crunch gets the front row spotlight as flavor of the month. Honey and Mackey's worked with Jack to develop the brown sugar and butter-based ice cream.
I had a lot of input. They asked what my favorite types of foods were. I said cereal, and then we decided on Captain Crunch.
Very good. Kelly Brown Real Estate Group is donating $1 to Wayzata's Tackle Cancer fundraiser for every scoop sold.
He could have easily said, you know what, this is tough and why me, and instead put his focus on helping other people and raising awareness.
What makes this fundraiser even more special is the personal connection. The owner of Honey and Mackey's son is a teammate here of Jack's. He's the quarterback and a fellow captain.
He is passionate about his cause, which is, cancer and football.
Turning this horrible thing into something bigger than myself, it's been awesome seeing the community kind of rally behind me.
So far, more than 1,000 scoops of the Captain Jack flavor have been sold. And the American Red Cross is asking Americans to roll up their sleeves. The nonprofit organization that provides about 40% of U.S. blood and blood components to hospitals is facing a shortage. The Red Cross says distribution to hospitals and medical centers is now far outpacing donations. Supply levels fell nearly 25% since early August because of a drop in donations and back-to-back months of climate-driven disasters. Emergency supplies of donated blood are described as critically low, and the Red Cross needs to collect about 12,500 donations each day to meet patients' needs. And patients may soon be able to use the psychedelic MDMA to help treat post-traumatic stress disorder, although it is currently illegal. MDMA, also known as ecstasy or Molly, has been proven to help reduce symptoms of PTSD when combined with talk therapy. That's according to a study published in Nature magazine. The company behind the prescription psychedelic, MAPS Public Benefit Corporation, is hoping that enough evidence to convince regulators to legalize it, and plans to submit its results to the FDA to build its case for approval. PTSD affects about 5% of adults in America, many of whom are combat veterans, victims of child abuse, and sexual assault survivors. The doctors say current treatment options only help about 50% of patients. September is National Suicide Prevention Month, a month to remember the lives lost to suicide, the millions of people who have struggled with thoughts of suicide, and to acknowledge those who've been impacted. It is also a time to raise awareness about prevention. CBS's Donna Backus spoke to one man who wants his story to bring hope to others.
Alex Glogovac isn't afraid to admit he's had some dark times. The 24-year-old even contemplated suicide.
Suicidal thoughts for me didn't really come till I was about 17, kind of late high school. Ever since then, I'm almost 25 now. I've kind of had them off and on.
Suicide is now the second leading cause of death among young people aged 15 to 24. Last year, more than 49,000 people took their own lives. That's more than any other year on record.
We're seeing an uptick now in suicide, the rates of suicide with our youth. Now, what is the direct link and correlation? I don't know what that is. And I don't know if we really will ever have an answer for that because there's so many factors.
Justina Larson is a licensed therapist and executive director of outpatient services at Newport Academy, an adolescent mental health facility. She says there are behavior changes parents can look out for.
Lack of concentration, decrease in performance at school, again, the isolation, withdrawing from friends. Watch their eating, sleeping habits, looking at their social media presence and that footprint. Social media is a huge piece.
If there is concern, Larson says talk about it.
It can start as a simple conversation of, hey, I noticed some things have changed in you. Can we talk about what you're feeling and thinking? What's going on?
Alex credits his family support system and the treatment he received at Newport Academy for helping him cope with suicidal thoughts.
The main thing is that you're not alone. Things may seem bleak right now, but it's going to get better.
He's sharing his story to give hope to others. Danya Backus, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Alex is working to start an organization to advocate for mental health and mental illness. And that's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
And we are watching a pretty decent Monday across the area. Chilly start ahead of a fairly warm day. And then we have increasing shower and thunderstorm chances as we head into the week ahead. We'll take another complete look at your forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns.
Right now at 5:30, local 4-H members in Vernon County educate the community on various opportunities from the club.
We've got ourselves a chilly and even somewhat foggy start to our Monday. We have increasing rain chances. We're going to take a look at that forecast to get you out the door coming up.
Plus, the Spiva Center for the Arts educates arts and craft enthusiasts on wood-burning charcuterie boards.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning, 4 states, and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. The time now is 5:31 a.m. I'm Caitlin O'Shaughnessy.
I'm Chris Warner. So it's a bit on the chilly side out there this morning again.
But, I'm telling you, there's a lot of deer out there too. So
there certainly is. You need to watch out there. But you've also got to watch out for some fog across the area as well. As you can see, we're not looking at significantly reduced visibilities, but nevertheless, right along the Highway 69 and I-49 corridors, that's where the thicker fog is. So if you are commuting this morning, slow down, give yourself plenty of time, because remember, these are just visibilities in these particular cities. In between, in those rural areas, that fog could be a little bit denser. We're going to hold on to the fog through the morning, so kids getting on the bus, a little hard to see that bus perhaps as we go low 50s with those foggy conditions. But by this afternoon, no problem seeing whatsoever. Mostly clear skies, heading right for the mid 80s out there. We'll have that fog hold on through about 8, 9 o'clock, and then it will burn off and go away and leave us with mostly clear skies and not bad temperatures, low 70s by late morning. However, with the lack of clouds today, we are going to warm up. We also have increasing rain chances. Now today, not so much. We'll be mostly clear, a few clouds. Clouds will begin to increase later this evening into the overnight. And then by 8, 9 o'clock tomorrow, we'll start to see scattered thunderstorm chances across the area. As you can see, they're not terribly widespread, but they are out there, and they'll be with us through our Tuesday into our Wednesday morning. They'll hang with us on Wednesday into Thursday, and because of that, we have just this tonight. Now, again, this is for overnight tonight with those storms developing late. But then as we go into Tuesday and Wednesday, we have a low, maybe even slightly elevated chance for some strong, possibly low-grade severe storms. So nothing significantly widespread severe weather-wise expected at this point, but a couple of stronger storms possible. And, of course, we'll keep an eye on those for you. I'll have another full look at your forecast and the rest of the week ahead here in a few more minutes. Caitlin?
Thanks, Chris. Well, the city of Weir celebrated their homecoming. Part of the homecoming celebration was to remember the town's history. Presenter and host David Wallace invited community members to share their stories, memorabilia, and acknowledgement of the history of Weir.
I've had the involvement of the museums around town, around southeast Kansas. I've had involvement from the McCune Museum, the Galena Historical Museum, the Nature Center in Galena. Miners Hall Museum has really done a bang-up job.
The tent was set up from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Local skaters were able to show off their tricks Saturday at the PKY Skateboard Park. The annual Battle for the Cup skateboard competition showcased skaters from all around the area. The event included music, skater meet and greets, and of course, skateboarding. Prizes and trophies were rewarded to first, second, and third places in each skill level, best trick contest, and best run.
We usually give away the skateboards, t-shirts, and stickers and stuff like that. There's a couple local skate groups that are out here today.
I usually go in intermediate, but they was telling me I couldn't, so.
This was the 15th annual all-day competition. Carl Junction hosted its annual Marching Band Festival, where schools came across the state all together to perform in front of judges. Every band varies in size from about 30 students to over 100 students. They are judged on multiple areas, and after each performance, every school is given feedback to help them improve in the future.
So they'll judge, how they're playing together as a unit, their phrasing, the musicality, the marching style. There'll be another caption. We have a guard person who's watching all the flag twirlers and stuff like that. Overall general effect of how the show is put together. And we have a percussion person too that specifies in that area.
My favorite part is watching the other bands. I like seeing what they have going on. Like last year I liked a Joplin show. It was really interesting.
The top 10 bands competed for the finals at 7 p.m. the same night. Saturday, Joplin hosted its annual surplus auction at the Joplin Public Works Center. Guests could come, browse, and bid on items like power tools, bikes, furniture, vehicles, and more. Viewings for the items took place on Friday from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m., but Saturday, approximately 200 people attended the auction to purchase their desired items.
Well, it helps us recoup some money on items that we purchased in the past, and then each department benefits whatever department the items come from. The money goes back to that department.
Mostly just come up here to look for something to buy to make a little money on or something.
For more information, including a full item list, visit joplinmo.org/auction list. The Spiva Center for the Arts in Joplin held a woodburn charcuterie board event. Attendees were able to learn the art of pyrography from Roxanne Kendall, as well as burn designs into different styles of charcuterie boards to take home. The event was open from 2 to 4 p.m. Members of the Vernon County 4-H held a family expo at the Vernon County Fairgrounds. The purpose of the event was to educate the community about 4-H and the various opportunities that comes along with being a part of 4-H. The 4-H Council spoke to potential new members about leadership conferences, various trips and camps, and scholarships currently offered.
Today, this event is our big expo that we have every year, and it's to get kids involved and get out there and show them a taste of what 4-H is and what all that Vernon County has to offer. It can be anything from projects to trips to our shooting sports. There's just everybody can come here today and get a big show of everything that's going on.
So one of the main things I do with my rabbits is I take them to shows. There's all different types of rabbits you can bring, different breeds. It's simple yet not simple.
The event began at 3 yesterday afternoon and wrapped at 5. And that's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. Search teams continue looking for victims' remains in the Libyan port city of Derna 1 week after 2 dams collapsed during heavy rains. Plus, we'll have the latest, and you're watching the KOAM Morning News. Topping World Watch, Mexico is back on the list of countries that meet the highest safety standards for air travel. Federal regulators made the announcement Thursday. They're returning Mexico to the safe list after a more than 2-year-long moratorium on new service and routes to U.S. airports. U.S. airlines can also resume marketing and selling tickets with their names and designator codes on Mexican-operated flights. The FAA said the move follows more than 2 years of close work between the country's civil aviation authorities. The FAA downgraded Mexico's International Aviation Safety Assessment rating to Category 2 in May of 2021. That's after finding the country did not meet International Civil Aviation Organization safety standards. Countries still not meeting the FAA's international safety standard are Bangladesh, Russia, Thailand, Venezuela, and some Eastern Caribbean states. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan met with China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi over the weekend. The meeting took place in Malta. Separate statements from the White House and China described the talks as being, quote, candid, substantive, and constructive. The White House says the two discussed a range of issues, including the war in Ukraine and stability in the Taiwan Strait. Both countries say the two sides are committed to maintain high-level communication in the coming months. The United Nations two-day summit begins Monday. It'll feature debates on only 17 different goals, including poverty, hunger, climate change, and secondary education. The high-level General Assembly meeting begins Tuesday. Presidents, prime ministers, and monarchs from 145 countries will want podium time. For the first time in years, U.S. President Joe Biden will be the only leader there from a veto-wielding power. The continuing Russia-Ukraine war will command delegate attention, with Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky planning to attend. And search teams continue looking for victims' remains of the Libyan port city of Derna 1 week after two dams collapsed during heavy rains. Fox News correspondent Ryan Chalaki is in London with the latest.
This was a natural disaster that appears to have been compounded by poor governance. Those two dams that sat above the town were poorly maintained, and there should have been more of them. And that's according to one of the government's own reports that came out 2 years ago. In other words, long before this disaster last week took place. There also should have been at least some kind of warning of the coming wall of water. A wall of water that was 2 stories high as it made its way into this town in the middle of the night after the dams burst. Instead, that wall of water and mud, with everything it picked up, cars, buildings, everything in its way, struck people in their homes, people who had been told to stay home and wait the storm out. The Red Crescent has confirmed more than 11,300 deaths, but that may not even be the half of it. Another 10,000 people are still missing 1 week after this disaster struck. If those people are dead, and many of them will be, that would put the death toll over 20,000, meaning nearly 1 in 4 residents were killed in this poor town of 90,000 Libyans. At least some of the recovery effort is focused on the Mediterranean Sea now, which authorities say continues to chuck up bodies that were swept out with the water. Recovery is in some ways easier there thanks to the helping hand of the tides than on land, where there is very little recovery work going on due to a lack of aid and machinery. The lack of coordination between the country's two dueling governments is also not helping. Libya has been in conflict for more than a decade since NATO ousted Muammar Gaddafi. For those lucky enough to have survived this cataclysm, the hard work is only beginning. Aid groups say the psychological trauma survivors face is overwhelming. Many lost entire families, not to mention their homes, their entire neighborhoods.
And that is not the only concern. Dozens of people have already been hospitalized after drinking contaminated water, and the UN is worrying a cholera outbreak may be on the way. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News, coming up now at 5:47 on this Monday morning. Now for our Monday, we've got a pretty decent day. We're going to warm up today as well, as we'll spend most of the day with mostly clear skies, and we'll eventually start to see increasing cloud cover as we go into the evening and overnight hours. Ahead of this, by about 7 a.m. in the far western portions of southeast Kansas, scattered thunderstorms begin to develop, and these again will be very widely scattered, but at least we've got some thunderstorm chances out there, and they'll persist with us throughout majority of our Tuesday, and then they'll stick with us and redevelop into the overnight and into the early morning hours on Wednesday, and we'll have additional scattered showers and thunderstorms on our Wednesday into our Thursday. So this is going to show you today isolated thunderstorms, but remember, day one continues into the early overnight. So this is actually the thunderstorm chances for tomorrow morning, early tomorrow morning. As we actually head into our Tuesday, we do have a low to slightly elevated risk for a strong, possibly low-grade severe thunderstorm out there, and we're watching that possibility again on Wednesday with a slightly broader low-risk area for, again, a strong, potentially low-grade severe thunderstorm out there. So we're not anticipating any significant, widespread severe weather by any means, but a couple of stronger storms will be possible, so we'll keep an eye on that for you. MoDOT camera, 20th and Range Line, looking pretty good this morning. Same from the MoDOT camera at 60 and Missouri 59 in the ocean. Neosho, and from the KDOT camera at 69 and East 520th. On each of them, especially this one with the lighting out there, if you look close enough, we do have some patchy fog, and the denser fog, it's not overly dense, but it's still there, is right along primarily the 69 and I-49 corridors. So if you are traveling this morning, just be on the lookout for that dense fog across the area. We're otherwise mostly clear, sitting at 54 in Joplin, so not a bad start to the day. A little cool out there. Fort Scott being the cold spot up there at 49. 55 Iola, 51 Pittsburgh, Parsons, Neodesha, Miami at 55 Neosho and Carthage. So again, we get our morning started. The fog holds on through about 8, 9 o'clock, burns off. We're talking low 70s by late morning. Today, mostly clear skies, going into the mid 80s for our highs, and then the increasing clouds later this evening into the overnight, going back into the mid 60s for our overnight lows. And then we'll have those scattered thunderstorm chances with us Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So they'll be widely scattered. It's not going to be just a deluge of rain, but still much needed rain chances out there. And after Tuesday, they knock our temperatures back down to something slightly more reasonable as we go into the mid upper 70s and maybe even some lower 80s out there as well. So much needed rain, nice temperatures, not a bad week ahead of us at all. That's a quick check of your forecast. We'll be back with more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
I'm amazed by alligators in general because of stories just like this.
The search is over. The little half-snout gator that's been an internet sensation was caught by a trapper on Friday and is now in its forever home, Gatorland. And how has she been since she's been here?
Pretty good. We've moved her into her own little bungalow.
So let's get up to speed. Earlier this month, the alligator was spotted near a lake in Sanford. A park regular took a picture, posted it on Facebook. And well, there's something about a gator with its top jaw sliced off below the eyeballs that brings out an emotion rarely seen for alligators. Compassion.
She's pretty calm. As you can see, alligators have personalities, kind of like people. Some days is a good day, some days is a bad day.
So here's what the folks with Gatorland have figured out. The gator is a she. Her snout probably got sliced off by a boat propeller, and most likely she's been living off things like frogs and snails.
That wound that she has is healed over. So she has been able to feed herself without a top jaw for some time now. That's impressive.
In the picture originally, she looked like she was pretty good in terms of her weight, feeding herself, but the folks here at Gatorland tell me that not really. See this loose skin? It shouldn't be there like that. So she needs to gain some weight. So how will they feed her? Well, with bite-sized pieces of chicken, fish, steak that she'll throw back in her throat.
I mean, she's getting a lot of attention right now, and I hope it doesn't go to her head. Become a little diva, but right now she's being very good, very down to earth, very humble at this point.
And continues to captivate social media. Gatorland wants folks to help name her. Some of the most notable suggestions: Jaws, Flapjack, Gumdrop. But the most heartfelt is the name Hope, because that is what this little gator has given us.
Well, I'm glad to see that little Hope has a new home, and hopefully it lives the rest of her days happy and in a loving environment. We'll be right back after these messages. The painting from the very first episode of Bob Ross's The Joy of Painting has been listed for sale for nearly $10 million. A Minnesota-based gallery is selling the original oil painting titled A Walk in the Woods. It bears Ross's signature in the bottom left corner, and it was painted live on air in January 1983. The current owner says he bought it earlier this year from a PBS volunteer who was there during the filming. She bought it at the station fundraising auction just months after it was painted. After that first episode, the show went on for another 400 plus episodes and into the cultural zeitgeist. Beer lovers flocked to Germany's Bavaria state on Saturday to celebrate the official opening of Oktoberfest. Millions of people are expected to gather in Munich to take part in the celebration, which goes on for 18 days. Festival goers decked out in traditional attire ran through the festival grounds as soon as the gates opened to get a spot in dozens of tents. The revelers eager to grab their 2-pint mugs of beer. 6 million visitors attend Oktoberfest every year. The event was not held in 2020 and 2021 because of the pandemic, but returned last year. This year's Oktoberfest runs through October 3rd.
We've got a pretty decent start to our day. There is some fog out there, and that's going to hang with us for about 8, 9 o'clock, and then it'll burn off, and that's going to leave us with mostly clear skies, low 70s by late morning. However, with those mostly clear skies, that means plentiful sunshine. That does mean another warm one out there as we go right around the mid-80s with mostly clear skies through today, so not a bad day. Then we'll head into this evening, and we're looking pretty decent. We'll start to see some increasing cloud cover late this evening into the overnight, and eventually go mostly cloudy back into the mid-60s, and that is ahead of increasing shower and thunderstorm chances. Now, they're going to be scattered, but we have these chances Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We still have another warm one on our Tuesday, but then enough cloud cover and enough rain out there knocks our temperatures down to a more reasonable range into the upper 70s and lower 80s as we head into the upcoming weekend. That's a quick check of your forecast. We're back with another hour of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Right now at 6, more and more people between 18 and 24 are choosing not to get traditional 9-to-5 jobs. We'll have the details.
And we certainly have a non-traditional shift here on the morning show. We've got a pretty decent start to our day. Some fog out there and some increasing rain chances. We'll look at that forecast coming up.
Plus, the community of Weir honors its town's history during homecoming celebrations.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning, 4 states, and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. The time now is 6 a.m. I'm Caitlin O'Shaughnessy.
I'm Chris Warner. So it's a little bit on the cool side out there, but it's about where we're supposed to be for this time of year. And we do have a little bit of fog to contend with. Again, it's been primarily right along the US 69 and I-49 corridors. It's where the thicker fog is. As you can see, we don't have significantly reduced visibilities, but nonetheless, some patchy, dense fog is out there. So make sure you're taking time. Use your low beams, not your high beams. And of course, if you've got fog lights, definitely use those. That fog holding on as kids get on the bus this morning. Low 50s, southeast breeze at about 5 to 10 miles an hour. And as we head into the afternoon, we're talking low 80s, mostly clear skies, southwest breeze at about 5 to 10. Our morning, that fog, looking to hold on through about 8, 9 o'clock, and then it goes away and leaves us with mostly clear skies, low 70s by late morning. And then we've got those rain chances. So today, no rain chances really at all. We're looking, again, mostly clear skies. We're looking to push into the mid-80s across the area. Then we'll see clouds increase later this evening and into the overnight ahead of scattered thunderstorm development on our Tuesday. Now, as you can see, these are going to be scattered, not rain everywhere all at once, but thunderstorm activity out there for sure. And that lasts with us through our Tuesday, into the overnight, into early Wednesday. And we'll have scattered thunderstorm chances through our Wednesday and into our Thursday as well. So as we look at our storm chances, now this again, day 1 goes all the way through like 3 a.m. I believe. So we could see some of those storms early tomorrow morning. This isn't for today, it's really for tonight in southeast Kansas. Then as we go into Tuesday and Wednesday, we do have that low, maybe even a slightly elevated risk for the potential for a strong, potentially low-grade severe thunderstorm on our Tuesday. And we have a little bit of a broader low-end risk for a strong, maybe low-grade severe thunderstorm on our Wednesday. So that's the good news. We're not anticipating any widespread severe weather or anything like that, but a couple of strong storms possible as we head into our Tuesday and Wednesday across the area. And of course, we'll keep a close eye on all that for you. Otherwise, much needed rain chances in our forecast. And speaking of that forecast, we'll have a complete look at that forecast, including the 7-day, here in a few more minutes. Caitlin?
Thanks, Chris. A Quapaw, Oklahoma man is dead after a crash near Baxter Springs between a semi and a pickup. It happened around 6 p.m. Friday on Highway 166 West. Authorities say both vehicles were traveling east with the pickup in front. Then they say that the pickup slowed down to turn left when the semi went into the left lane and hit the pickup. The driver of the pickup was taken to the hospital with serious injuries. A passenger in the pickup, 58-year-old Jeffrey Sappington, was killed. The driver of the semi was not hurt. And it's one of the biggest involving the workforce shortage. More and more people between 18 and 24 are choosing not to get traditional 9-to-5 jobs. Joe Hickman shows us the problem is so prevalent, the Missouri Job Center in Springfield hosted a roundtable discussion on what to do about it.
Some 40 Springfield area employers were part of the roundtable discussion, and the overriding message they shared is that when it comes to hiring and retaining young workers these days,
we're all frustrated.
And those frustrations are wide-ranging. They talked about a lack of basic skills.
I just assumed that people would know how to sweep a floor. They would understand the process of seeing trash that needed to be taken out. And we're finding that those are actually skills that we're having to set very explicit expectations of what that looks like.
We also see that their response when you say, do you understand? This is how we do something. And their response is, I know. And they don't know.
They also pointed out there were problems with feelings of entitlement.
In my opinion, a lot of young adults are just chasing the dollar signs, so they just look at how much does this pay, how much money am I going to get on Friday?
And after 90 days in there, they feel ready for a supervisor position. This is the first.
You have to work your way up. You don't just walk in and be the boss from day one.
It's not good enough to just say, do this. They need to know why and probably a little bit how that will benefit them.
And even problems with not showing up or being incapable of handling job interviews.
How to leave a voicemail, how to shake a hand.
How to dress when you went to an interview, how to speak and look up and give eye contact and understand the value of what you bring to the table.
We're going to do more mock interviews. We're going to do more job shadowing, and we're going to make sure that when we're working on resumes, we're going to pull from their life experiences. I think that was a very key thing that we got today.
Lacking good social skills was an overriding theme at the conference, which was blamed on the younger generation's constant use of social media.
That's all they know. They've had a cell phone since they were 5 years old. That's their communication method now, rather than actually sitting down and having a conversation with someone. And that has now created the inability for them to communicate.
We're going to work on managing anxiety with our young people, because so many of them, because of the barriers they have such anxiety, and we need to teach them how to manage that on the job.
Nationwide, some 72% of 18 to 24-year-olds are looking at alternate careers that involve self-employment, preferably at home, with more flexibility in their schedules. And that leads to a lack of motivation about traditional 9-to-5 jobs.
We have to start with them understanding that they have to want to gain skills. They have to want to have a job.
COVID started it, and a lot of people, I would like to be able to do that myself. But not every job is going to be able to be a remote job.
The employers know, though, that they too have to give those potential employees a reason to be motivated.
Our generation, I just knew I needed to show up and work. There wasn't an alternative. So the onus was on me as an employee to do what I need to do, and I think the onus has changed to the employer. How does the employer need to show up to support these young people, to engage, to retain, and to build a really strong workforce?
To be the first to see breaking news, weather, and sports, download the KOAM News app. It's available free of charge in the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. Just search for the KOAM News app. The city of Weir celebrated their homecoming. Part of the homecoming celebration is to remember the town's history. Presenter and host David Wallace invited community members to share their stories, memorabilia, and acknowledgement of the history of Weir.
I've had the involvement of the museums around town, around southeast Kansas. I've had involvement from the McCune Museum, the Galena Historical Museum, the Nature Center in Galena. Miners Hall Museum has really done a bang-up job.
The tent was set up from 9 a.m. till 1 p.m. And that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News. Why the White House has decided to not intervene as gas prices continue to rise. Plus, why a massive search is underway in Los Angeles County after a sheriff's deputy was killed in an ambush. And Chris Warner returns with another look at your Monday forecast. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back. Topping Nation Watch this morning, lawyers for former President Donald Trump are once again filing court papers to get federal judge Tanya Chutkan to recuse herself from the election interference case. Trump's legal team previously argued Chutkan should step down, but in a new motion, the lawyers used Chutkan's own words against her. She has overseen a number of cases involving defendants charged in the January 6 attack on the U.S. Capitol and has condemned the actions of many of the rioters. Trump's lawyers also argue the former president's political successes means the prosecution of him could be viewed as politically biased. Chutkan will ultimately make the decision whether she should recuse herself, and while Trump's ask is a long shot based on the law, his filings on the topic could be used in appeals later if he is convicted. The U.S. military is searching for the wreckage of an F-35 fighter jet that crashed near Charleston, South Carolina. A jet similar to this one went down Sunday afternoon. The pilot ejected safely, and first responders took the pilot to a medical facility for treatment. A statement released said that the pilot was in stable condition. No word on what caused the crash. The military says the fighter jet's last known location was near Lake Moultrie and Lake Marion, two large bodies of water northwest of the city. It is asking the public for help in case someone spots the wreckage. California is suing Big Oil, accusing the industry of knowing about the dangers of burning fossil fuels for decades while deceiving the public. State Attorney General Rob Bonta filed a civil suit on Friday against BP, ExxonMobil, Chevron, Shell, ConocoPhillips, and the American Petroleum Institute. The 135-page complaint says that the oil companies have known since at least the 1960s that burning fossil fuels would have warmed the planet, but downplayed the risks, leading to deadly and costly environmental disasters like wildfires, unclean air, extreme heat waves, and record-breaking droughts. The suit points to a 1968 report by Stanford researchers paid for by the American Petroleum Institute that warned about the environmental damage and significant temperature changes. Pain at the pump isn't going anywhere. The White House has decided to not intervene as gas prices continue to rise. Senior aides met several times this week to discuss policy options before deciding against any action. But officials say the Biden administration will continue to watch trends to see if prices come down now that the peak summer travel season is over. While usage might be dropping, supply isn't expected to increase after Saudi Arabia extended production cuts through the end of the year. Experts predict prices will continue to rise in the fourth quarter. And a massive search is underway in Los Angeles County after a sheriff's deputy was killed in an ambush. Authorities are offering $250,000 for the information, leading to the arrest and conviction of those involved. CBS's Ian Lee reports.
Amazing grace. Family and friends mourn the Los Angeles County Sheriff's deputy who was gunned down over the weekend in what authorities are calling a targeted attack.
Ryan was a 30-year-old, young, beautiful man full of life.
Deputy Ryan Klinkenbroomer was shot while sitting in his patrol car at a red light outside the Palmdale Sheriff's Station Saturday evening. Police are searching for a dark gray Toyota Corolla made between 2006 and 2012. Sheriff Robert Luna is pledging every resource available to bring the killer to justice.
So I'm going to tell you, whoever did this, I'd give in or I'd give up really quick. We are going to find you.
Deputy Klinkenbroomer was a third-generation LA County deputy and an 8-year veteran on the force.
This heinous deed will not go unpunished. Whoever committed this cowardly act will be caught.
Klinkenbroomer leaves behind a fiancée. The couple got engaged less than a week ago. Ian Lee, CBS News.
Authorities say that the motive behind the attack is still being investigated. Let's look at some of today's top national stories. Now here's Chris with a look at your forecast.
Yeah, we've got increasing rain chances as we head into the week ahead, and there is the potential for some strong, maybe low-grade severe thunderstorms over the next few days as well. We're going to take a complete look at your forecast and the week ahead here in just a few more minutes on the KOAM Morning News.
In California's Bay Area, there's been a historic sighting. For the first time in more than a century, a baby beaver was spotted. Lauren Martinez has more on why this is so important to the ecosystem.
This small ball of fuzz you see scampering across is a big deal for wildlife experts.
That little beaver, boom, 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 went down there.
In August, Bill Lycum said one of his trail cameras near Matadero Creek in Palo Alto captured a baby beaver.
For this area, there have not been any beavers in this particular Matadero Creek for over 160 years.
Experts say the industrial fur trade pushed the population to near extinction. To see the beaver come back on its own is a huge moment.
That was a trek to get there. Those beavers were looking for new habitat. They were looking for a new place to settle down, and they found it somewhere that they probably haven't been for 200 plus years, which is just a huge moment for, ecological restoration and bringing back a pretty awesome species to the bay.
Beavers offer a slew of benefits to other animals and humans.
So beaver ponds and the wetlands that they build are hotspots of biodiversity. They're uniquely resistant to droughts and to wildfires. And they can help take the power out of floodwaves so that when we have these big atmospheric rivers and other kinds of storm events, it's not so destructive downstream.
Since beavers travel upstreams, Dr. Rick Landman has an idea of where they could head next.
San Francisco Creek is unique in the South Bay because it's not concrete, it's natural. So it could provide a corridor for beaver to get from the baylands to the uplands, which is where we need them to get to fight fires for us, right?
Last year, Bill Lycum said his trail cameras captured a pair of beavers. While there's no confirmation they produced offspring, the video of the young beaver is offering researchers hope for their future.
It's exciting. It's part of the reason why I do all this.
This animal has been here before, but it's been so long, and it's finally back. It's not that they're moving into California or moving into the Bay for the first time. Like, the beaver's coming home.
In the South Bay, Lauren Martinez, ABC 7 News.
I'm glad we got to see such a historic sighting. Now here's Chris with a quick look at your forecast.
Yeah, we have some fog to contend with out there. Again, primarily right along the Highway 69 and I-49 corridors. So do watch out for that on your morning commute. Kids getting on the bus this morning, they'll have to contend with some of that fog. We're looking at low 50s at 7 a.m., southeast breeze at 5 to 10. And as that bus brings them home, the fog, of course, will clear by this afternoon. We're talking about mid-80s, southwest breeze 5 to 10 miles an hour with mostly clear skies. We do have those increasing rain chances in our forecast. We're going to look at that full forecast right after this. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News, 6:22 now on this Monday morning. As we head through our Monday, we're looking at mostly clear skies and warm temperatures as we climb into the mid-80s. Then as we head into the evening and overnight, clouds increase ahead of some early morning thunderstorm chances that'll start to get going, say around 4 or 5 a.m. in the far western reaches of southeast Kansas. These scattered thunderstorms, they will not be everywhere all at once. They will not be widespread, but we will contend with them through the majority of our Tuesday into the evening. Then they'll see additional development, especially in southeast Kansas overnight Wednesday. And we'll have more scattered showers and thunderstorms as we go into our Wednesday and into our Thursday across the area as well. And with that said, some of those could be strong, potentially low-grade severe. So this is, again, kind of a lie. Just a reminder, on day one, that goes all the way until like 3 a.m. if I'm not mistaken. So this is actually for the thunderstorms that we could see late tonight into the early morning hours on Tuesday. For the rest of our Tuesday, though, we do have a low to elevated risk for some strong, potentially low-grade severe thunderstorms. And then on Wednesday, we have a slightly wider low-end risk for some of those strong, potentially low-grade severe thunderstorms. So the good news is we're not anticipating widespread severe weather by any means, but a couple of stronger storms are possible out there. MoDOT camera 20th in range line in Joplin, looking good so far. Same from the MoDOT camera at US 60 and Missouri 59 on the south end of Neosho. A little bit of fog visible out there, and you can see some of that light fog from the KDOT camera at 69 and East 520th Avenue south of Pittsburgh. And that's what we're talking about, primarily along the Highway 69 and I-49 corridor, and points in between is where some of the denser fog is out there. So do make sure you're slowing down, giving yourself time to get where you're going out there. We're sitting at 55 in Joplin with otherwise mostly clear skies out there and a calm breeze, and temperatures around the region this morning not looking bad either. Look at that, cold in Fort Scott, just downright cold. 48, 53 Chinook, 51 in Pittsburgh, Miami, 54 Neosho, Lamar, and 55 in Carthage. That fog sticks with us all the way through about 8, 9 o'clock. Then it clears out, giving us mostly clear skies, low 70s by late morning, but with abundant sunshine out there. We're going to warm up quick into the mid 80s once again out there with those mostly clear skies. skies. And as mentioned, we go into the evening. Clouds will begin to increase later this evening into the overnight hours, starting to go mostly cloudy, mild, so not bad, mid-60s. Then we have those scattered thunderstorm chances. They're going to be with us Tuesday through Saturday. Again, not everywhere all at once, but at least some rain chances out there. And aside from our Tuesday still being warm in the mid-80s, the rest of the week looks pretty good as the clouds and rain keep us into the upper 70s and lower 80s heading into the upcoming weekend. That's a quick check of your forecast. Now we're going to send it over to Caitlin for a check of Health Watch.
Thanks, Chris. Well, women are less likely to be given CPR in public places than the street than men. This is according to a new study out of Canada. The authors did not find a reason for that difference. Researchers looked at tens of thousands of cardiac arrests that happen outside of the hospitals and found that only around half of patients were given CPR at all. Doctors say giving CPR to those who need it, regardless of gender, can save lives. And a new study in the Journal of Pediatrics finds that errors related to ADHD medications increased 300% over the last 2 decades in people under 20. 2/3 of exposures from those errors occurred among 6 to 12-year-olds and likely caused minimal or no health consequences. Researchers say that the rise in mistakes is likely due to the overall increase in prescriptions for ADHD drugs. They say improved child-resistant medication dispensers can help reduce mistakes. And as smoke from Canada's historic wildfires triggered poor air quality alerts across the country, a new national poll finds that 2/3 of parents say that their children have experienced poor air quality over the past 2 years. And as the smoke from Canada's historic wildfires triggered poor air quality alerts across the country, a new national poll finds 2/3 of parents say their children have experienced poor air quality over the past 2 years. The University of Michigan survey found most parents kept their windows closed and limited their child's time to outdoors during poor air quality alerts. So many industries have been adjusting since the pandemic, including healthcare, and one hospital in Kansas City, Missouri is adding a helpful hand to its staff, but it's not human. They're hoping this robot can help them save time on tasks. Abby Dodge talks to the humans that interact with it about how this innovation is helping them.
Did you think you'd be working with a robot?
Never. And every time I see it, it brings a smile to our face and a little chuckle because we're adjusting to it.
It was strange to see a robot, being able to do tasks. And as you can see, Moxie has different expressions and things like that.
Moxie is now responsible for some small errands, taking supplies to different units or carrying items from the pharmacy to the nurses who need them.
It gives us half steps of everything, like just so that we don't have to go and do it ourselves.
Kind of bringing us to the future.
Patients are taking notice too.
It flew by one day and my wife said, "There it goes."
Parker McNeil is recovering from an aortic valve replacement.
Get your temperature.
He's been leaning on the hospital staff to get back home.
I would not want to interact with the robot. I'd rather interact with the person.
That's good. I'm glad. I don't want the robot taking over this part.
Yeah, I don't either.
Moxie's role is strictly outside of patient rooms, leaving more space for human interaction.
It's always about the patient. And so my focus and our focus is to help these sick patients that are going through difficult times.
There you go.
With a helping hand from an unlikely source.
St. Luke said based on Moxie's performance at other hospitals, it has saved over 200,000 hours and has made 400,000 deliveries nationwide. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. We'll be right back. Right now at 6:30, local 4-H members in Vernon County educate the community on various opportunities from the club.
And we've got a chilly and somewhat foggy start to our Monday morning across the 4 states. We've also got rain chances on the way. We'll get that forecast to get you out the door coming up.
Plus, the Spiva Center for the Arts educates arts and crafts enthusiasts on wood-burning charcuterie boards.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning, 4 states, and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. The time now is 6:31 a.m. I'm Caitlin O'Shaughnessy.
I'm Chris Warner. So again, we got a little bit of a chilly start out there for us, but not too bad. But we also have some fog to contend with across the area. Aha, I knew I put that one step too far. Let's take a quick look at the fog here. It is primarily along the US 69 and I-49 corridor, but you can see it's starting to spread out, especially across parts of southeast Kansas and northeast Oklahoma. Nothing super dense and no dense fog advisories out there this morning, but still, you want to slow down now, make sure you give yourself time to get where you're going, because we're going to hold on to that fog as we go through the morning hours. And as the kids get on the bus, fog the key word. Low 50s out there with a southeast breeze at about 5 to 10 miles an hour. And as we head into the afternoon, of course, the fog will be gone. We're looking at mostly clear skies and right around the mid 80s, and that wind shifts out of the southwest at about 5 to 10 miles an hour. We get our morning started. That fog sticks with us through about 8, 9 o'clock. It burns off, and that leaves us looking pretty good. Mostly clear skies, low 70s by late morning. And as we head through our Monday looks great. We're going to be warm, mostly clear skies. Then by the evening and overnight hours, the clouds begin to increase. And then as we head early tomorrow morning, we start to see a few scattered showers and thunderstorms out there. Here we are at 9 a.m. across southeast Kansas. Now, as you can see, these are going to be widely scattered. It's not going to be rain everywhere all at once. Not everybody will see rain, but scattered thunderstorm chances will stick with us through our Tuesday into the overnight hours and into our Wednesday and into our Thursday, Friday, and even into our Saturday as well. And we do have that low end risk of a stray strong storm or two. So again, for the day one outlook, that goes through like 3 a.m. So this is actually for those thunderstorms developing early tomorrow morning in southeast Kansas. No thunderstorms expected today. Then as we get through the rest of our Tuesday, we do have a low to even elevated risk for the potential for a strong or low grade severe thunderstorm out there. And that risk persists into our Wednesday with a broader area of a low risk for, again, a stray strong or low grade severe thunderstorm. So the good news is, again, we're not anticipating any widespread severe weather or anything like that. And the overall risk of strong severe thunderstorms is relatively low, but it is there. So it's something we'll keep an eye on for you over the next couple of days. We'll tell you how the rest of the week is shaping up, those extra rain chances, and what that does to our temperatures with your full forecast here in a few more minutes. Caitlin?
Thanks, Chris. Well, Carl Junction hosted its annual Marching Band Festival, where schools from across the state came together to perform in front of judges. Every band varies in size from about 30 students to over 100 students. They are judged on multiple areas, and after each performance, every school is given feedback to help them improve in the future.
So they'll judge, how they're playing together as a unit, their phrasing, the musicality, the marching style. There'll be another caption. We have a guard person who's watching all the flag twirlers and stuff like that. Overall general effect of how the show is put together. And we have a percussion person too that specifies in that area.
My favorite part is watching the other bands. I like seeing what they have going on. Like last year I liked a Joplin show. It was really interesting.
The top 10 bands competed for the finals at 7 p.m. the same night. Members of the Vernon County 4-H held a family expo at the Vernon County Fairgrounds. The purpose of the event was to educate the community about 4-H and the various opportunities that comes along with being a part of 4-H. The 4-H Council spoke to potential new members about leadership conferences, various trips and camps, and scholarships currently offered.
Today, this event is our big expo that we have every year, and it's to get kids involved and get out there and show them a taste of what 4-H is and what all that Vernon County has to offer. It can be anything from projects to trips to our shooting sports. There's just everybody can come here today and get a big show of everything that's going on.
So one of the main things I do with my rabbits is I take them to shows. There's all different types of rabbits you can bring, different breeds. It's simple yet not simple.
The event began at 3 yesterday afternoon and wrapped up at 5. Saturday, Joplin hosted its annual surplus auction at the Joplin Public Works Center. Guests could come browse and bid on items like power tools, bikes, furniture, vehicles, and more. Viewings for the item took place on Friday from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m., but Saturday, approximately 200 people attended the auction to purchase their desired items.
Well, it helps us recoup some money on items that we purchased in the past. And then each department benefits whatever department the items come from. The money goes back to that department.
Mostly just come up here to look for something to buy to make a little money on or something.
For more information, including a full list, visit joplinmo.org/auction list. And the Spiva Center for the Arts in Joplin held a Woodburn Charcuterie Board event. Attendees were able to learn the art of pyrography and Roxine Kendall, as well as burn designs into different styles on the charcuterie boards. The event was open from 2 to 4 p.m. Local skaters were able to show off their tricks Saturday at the PKY Skateboard Park. The annual Battle for the Cup skateboard competition showcased skaters from all around the area. The event included music, skater meet and greets, and of course, skateboarding. Prizes and trophies were awarded to first, second, and third places in each skill level, best trick contest, and best run.
We usually give away the skateboards, t-shirts, and stickers and stuff like that. There's a couple local skate groups that are out here today.
I usually go in intermediate, but they was telling me I couldn't, so.
This was the 15th annual all-day competition. And that's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. Why a potential government shutdown is getting closer by the minute.
And we've got the fog, we've got some increasing rain chances. We're going to take another full look at your forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns.
In Consumer Watch this morning, a potential government shutdown is getting closer by the minute. Some progress was made over the weekend, and a group of House Republicans have come to terms on a short-term funding bill. However, nothing is set in stone, and the clock is still ticking. John Lorick reports.
There's less than 2 weeks for Capitol Hill to try and prevent the government from going broke and be forced to close its doors.
I do hope that we can avoid a government shutdown. In 2013, when Republicans shut down the government back then, it was very, very costly to millions of Americans.
6 Republican members of the House, 3 from the House Freedom Caucus, and 3 with the Main Street Caucus, closed a deal Sunday on a short-term spending plan they hope will prevent a shutdown. But will the rest of the GOP conference give it the nod?
We will do that this week. I gave them an opportunity this weekend to try to work through this, and we'll bring it to the floor, win or lose, and show the American public who's for the Department of Defense.
Republican sources close to the matter say the agreement has a 31-day continuing resolution that comes with a GOP-approved border security package. But some House conservatives are already giving the idea a thumbs down.
I strongly support their effort to stand firm and demand the kind of budget cuts necessary to make a small down payment on fiscal responsibility and reform.
In the meantime, the deadline is inching closer.
The House Republican Civil War is hurting hard-working American taxpayers and limiting our ability to be able to solve problems on their behalf.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
If House Republicans approve the bill, it will likely be squashed by the Democrat-led Senate, which means Congress wouldn't be closer to preventing a potential shutdown. And Ford says it has laid off hundreds of non-striking workers as its Wayne, Michigan assembly plant amid its historic United Air Workers strike against the big 3 U.S. car companies. Union workers walked off the job there and at 2 other GM and Stellantis facilities after the contract expired late Thursday. UAW leaders say talks were productive with Ford over the weekend, and union representatives are meeting with Stellantis today. Thousands of protesters marched in New York yesterday to call on President Biden and other world leaders to end reliance on fossil fuels. The march kicked off Climate Week as the United Nations General Assembly also meets this week with a climate summit planned Wednesday. President Biden is in New York for the UN gathering. And today is National Cheeseburger Day, and several major fast food chains are offering deals. McDonald's has 50-cent double cheeseburgers exclusively through its app, while Wendy's is giving out a junior bacon cheeseburger for a penny with purchase. Burger King is also giving away a free cheeseburger with a purchase equaling $1 or more for Royal Perks members. And that's it for Consumer Watch. Now here's Chris with a look at your forecast.
Yeah, we've got some fog to contend with out there. It's patchy across the area. The densest fog is now in northern southwest Missouri and into northeastern Oklahoma out there. So do make sure you're giving yourself time to get where you're going today. As we head into the bus stop forecast, kids dealing with fog this morning, low 50s, southeast breeze at about 5 to 10 miles an hour. And as we head into the afternoon, things look better, of course. We start to clear out and we're warm warm once again into the mid-80s under mostly clear skies. Southwest breeze at about 5 to 10 miles an hour. And as we get our morning started, looking great. That fog holding on through about 8, 9 o'clock this morning, and then it gives way to mostly clear skies, temperatures into the low 70s by late morning. We're going to take another complete look at your forecast, including our rain chances and how that impacts our temperatures this week here in just a few more minutes. It's also just about time to celebrate birthdays and anniversaries. Those are coming up right after this. Time for some Monday birthdays here in the 4 states, and we're going to begin with Emmett Guffey, celebrating number 6 out on the beach. Happy birthday, Emmett.
And happy 8th birthday to Easton Collar.
And in Jasper, McKenna Jennings, celebrating birthday number 10. Happy birthday, McKenna.
Happy 32nd birthday to Raven Whitworth over in Chanute, Kansas.
Also in Chanute, Jessica Bryant, celebrating number 39. Happy birthday, Jessica.
Taking it over to Jasper, Missouri, happy 46th birthday to Chad Harris.
And back in Joplin, we've got Gary Shaw, Joplin councilman, former mayor, and honestly, outside of any of that, one of the kindest people you will ever meet in this area. A very big happy birthday to Mr. Shaw.
And over in Stark City, Missouri, happy 74th birthday to Donna Largen.
And in Oswego, check this one out. Lula May Villegas celebrating number 97. Happy birthday, Lula. Pictured there with her great-great-granddaughter, Emma.
And happy birthday to Patricia Armitage.
And we've got Joe and Tammy Creviston in Iola celebrating their 10th wedding anniversary. A very happy birthday and anniversary to all of you on our list. And of course, we continue to celebrate these with you. How can they help us celebrate with them?
All you have to do is submit your birthdays and anniversaries to birthdays@KOAMnewsnow.com and be sure to include pictures and any messages you want us to share with your loved ones.
All right, excellent. Make sure you do that. You know what else is excellent? The fact that we're going to get some much needed rain this week. We're not talking a ton of rain, but by golly, any rain we can get, we will certainly take. Now today, not so much on the rain chances. We're going to be mostly clear and on the warm side, but as we head into the evening and overnight, clouds will begin to increase because of these guys. Now, early in the morning, so right before this stops at 9, say around 3, 4 a.m., we'll start to see a few scattered storms. We'll see more of these. As you can see, they're very scattered. Not everybody's going to get rain all at once, but at least some of us getting some shower and thunderstorm chances as we head through Tuesday into the evening, overnight. We'll see additional thunderstorms across southeast Kansas as we go into early Wednesday morning, and we'll hold on to scattered shower and thunderstorm chances for the rest of this week. So again, day 1 from the Storm Prediction Center covers, like I said, if I'm not mistaken, until about 3 a.m. So we're not expecting thunderstorms through the afternoon today. This is for like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning in southeast Kansas. As we head into our Tuesday and Wednesday, however, we do have a low to elevated risk for some strong, potentially low-grade severe thunderstorms out there, and we'll have a slightly more broad area of that low-end risk again for some strong, potentially low-grade severe thunderstorms. So the overall risk of severe weather at this point is relatively low, and the good news is we're not anticipating anything widespread. We're not expecting, a line of thunderstorms with 80-mile-an-hour winds to come through, but we could see some stronger storms with some gusty winds and some small hail. So we'll keep a close eye on that for you over the next couple of days. MoDOT camera 20th and range line in Joplin looking pretty good so far this morning. A little bit of that haze, a little bit of that light fog out there. MoDOT camera at US 60, Missouri 59 in Neosho. Looking back to the west, starting to look a little clear. Could see some of that fog earlier, and you can still see that fog a little better now on the KDOT camera at 69 East 520th Avenue, just south of Pittsburgh. And from our let's take a look at the fog. Then we'll get to our camera. We have that patchy fog, and as you can see, it's over the entire area because on a clear day, when no fog, all of these should say at least 10. And you can see there is some patchy fog, denser fog northeast Oklahoma, and then up into the northern parts of southwest Missouri around Nevada and Stockton. So just give yourself time to get where you're going this morning. Our camera, 7th and range line, not showing tons of fog out there, but if you look close, there's some slight haze. We're sitting at 55, so a chilly start out there under otherwise otherwise mostly clear skies. Around the region, we've got 49 in Fort Scott. Just like last week, they wanted to be the cold spot. Well, they may not want to be, but that's what's happening. And Fort Scott, again, the cold spot as we get our work week underway. We've otherwise got low to mid 50s, 50 in Parsons, 52 in Pittsburgh, 50 Neodesha, 53 Chanute and Iola, 52 in Miami, 54 Lamar, Neosho, 55 in Carthage. So not a bad start out there whatsoever. As we get the rest of our morning started, that fog sticking with us through about 8, 9 o'clock, and then of course it burns off, it goes away, does its thing, and leaves us with mostly clear skies. So a nice start to the day, and not bad, low 70s by late morning. However, mostly clear skies. You know what that means. That means abundant sunshine, and that means the opportunity for us to warm up. And that's exactly what's going to happen as we head into the afternoon. Temperatures will climb pretty quickly into the mid-80s across the area with those mostly clear skies. And then as we head into the evening, as I mentioned, as we go later into the evening, we'll start to see partly cloudy to mostly cloudy skies across the area as the clouds increase ahead of the thunderstorm chances for us on Tuesday. Mostly cloudy overnight at mid-60s, so not bad whatsoever. That 7-day forecast, though, we're talking more rain chances. We're talking an impact, at least a slight one, on our temperatures. And we're going to have a look at that 7-day forecast here in just a couple more minutes. Also, we're going to tell you about a vet that gives a baby goat a second chance at a normal life, all by giving him prosthetic legs. That's when the KOAM Morning News switches over to Fox 14 at 7 a.m.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. A Quapaw, Oklahoma man is dead after a crash near Baxter Springs between a semi and a pickup. It happened around 6 p.m. Friday on Highway 166 west of Baxter Springs. Authorities say both vehicles were traveling east when the pickup in front. Then they say the pickup slowed down to turn left when the semi went into the left lane and hit the pickup. The driver of the pickup was taken to the hospital with serious injuries. The passenger in the pickup, 58-year-old Jeffrey Savington, was killed. The driver of a semi was not hurt. The city of Weir celebrated their homecoming. Part of the homecoming celebration is to remember the town's history. Presenter and host David Wallace invited community members to share their stories, memorabilia, and acknowledgement of the history of Weir. Saturday, Joplin hosted its annual surplus auction at the Joplin Public Works Center. Guests could come, browse, and bid on items like power tools, bikes, furniture, vehicles, and more. Viewings for the items took place on Friday from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m., but Saturday, approximately 200 people attended the auction to purchase their desired items. And that's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
We've got some patchy fog out there this morning. That'll transition to mostly clear skies today, highs in the mid-80s. Then we'll see gradually increasing clouds later this evening, partly mostly cloudy skies. And that's ahead of thunderstorm chances Tuesday morning, mid-60s. Those thunderstorm chances begin as early as about 3 a.m. in southeast Kansas, and they'll be scattered throughout the day. And we'll hold on to those scattered thunderstorms all the way through at least Saturday. And as mentioned, though, it has a nice impact on our temperatures. Warm today, warm tomorrow, and then more reasonable back into the upper 70s and lower 80s as we head into the upcoming weekend.
That's not too bad, Chris.
Not bad at all.
I'll take it. Well, coming up today at noon, we're making slow cooker short ribs and cabbage in the Mr. Food Test kitchen.
Lost me at cabbage, but I'll take the ribs for sure.
Excellent.
Your morning news also continues on KOAM with CBS Mornings. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has removed Rolling Stone magazine co-founder Jan Winter from its board of directors following some very controversial comments. Coming up on CBS Mornings, why his comments on black and female musicians could negatively impact his enormous legacy.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. This morning, we learn more about what the Civil Air Patrol is, as well as what its missions are.
Plus, Nintendo announced some Mario games recently. We're going to take a sneak peek at one of those coming out here very soon. But that's going to wrap it up for us for now. We will be back here tomorrow morning, right here at 5 a.m.
And we'll see you again today at noon.